Dear viewer, welcome. My name is Binz and today we'll be doing a little tutorial for shapes.io. It wasn't my intention to start doing tutorials on this game, but I got the request from someone who watched one of my videos on a make anything machine I'd built, and I thought to myself, sure, why the heck not? Now, disclaimer, I do not consider myself to be a shapes.io guru or expert by any means. There are a lot of people out there that know their stuff extremely well and they build things that I can't even wrap my head around. But then again, I have learned a thing or two about this game by playing it, and the request I got is something I can definitely cater to. So here goes. This person, whom I won't mention by name because I don't know if they'd appreciate that, but they said that they were struggling with their make anything machine in cases where a particular layer of the shape is missing a quadrant. When you enter free play mode, then from I believe level 60 or 70-ish, you can start getting such shapes, and if you want to make a good and solid make anything machine, then obviously it is going to need to be able to handle that. So in this video, we'll be having a look at how you could set it up, alright? So if you want an MAM that can handle missing corners, the solution is to be found in your stacking modules. And I'll actually show two possible approaches to the matter. For the first approach, I prepared 4 incoming lines, each of which has a full belt of a circle quadrant, and I set up a little filter system to which I attached some switches so that we can simulate missing belts and therefore missing corners on our layer. Alright? Now generally, if you make a make anything machine, if you start experimenting with or creating your make anything machine, then usually you're going to start working with stacking modules that will take 2 inputs and produce 1 output, right? So you're going to slim down 2 inputs from 2 to 1. So let's build a very simple stacking module right here. Now, before we continue, I want to say that it is not the purpose of this video to create something extremely efficient. Right, this is going to be pretty inefficient, and you're going to be able to obviously compact what I am going to build by a lot, right? But that's not the purpose. This is really the idea of this video is really just to show off the system behind it, and then it is up to you to create something that works more efficiently than this one, right? But what I've done is I'm creating a very simple stacker array. It's chained in serial fashion, which is not my go-to method because it's not as fast as others out there, but it's pretty compact, right? So let's draw the incoming belts right here, other belts here and there. And our output lane is running at the bottom. Now, this first method I'm showing you basically works with a simple bypass mechanism, right? So before this module, before this stacking module, I'm simply going to place filters so that the incoming lines have a possibility to move directly onto the output belt, right? This will be our output belt. And the idea is simply that if we have one of these 2 corners missing, then the other one will move onto the bypass lane, right? So how are we going to do that? This mechanism is really simple. So on the wiring layer, you're gonna have your 2 incoming belts, all right? Your 2 incoming signals, sorry. And the only thing you need to do, it's really simple, is you're going to need an AND gate. Let's zoom in for a bit, an AND gate, right? And you just connect the output to both oh, sorry, that doesn't make any sense. So you're just going to connect the output of your AND gate to both filters. Let's put a trash bin here so it doesn't get clogged. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's cut these for a bit, let this flush itself. Well, we can get back to the I'm not an expert part by how clumsily I'm doing this. All right, but it works anyway. Okay, so we now have a fully functional stacking system that is simply going to stack these shapes and create the right half of a layer. Let's simplify this a bit more, or clarify it a bit more by putting a display so we can see what we have running across our belts. Otherwise, it might be a bit too fast to see the exact shape. But the thing is, simply if we cut this line, then the other one will simply move on to the bypass lane, right? That's how easy it is. And now we have a full belt of this bottom right quadrant moving through, right? If we do it with the other one, then that simply will move onto the bypass lane. We get the top right half, right? And if we enable both of them, then with this filtering system, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Now, the thing is that in your make anything machine, you're going to need several steps of staggers, right? Because now we only have half a layer of a shape, and logically, we're also going to want to do the same here, and then we're going to place another stacker behind them because we want to combine both to create the full layer, obviously, right? So we're gonna repeat that. Now here's the thing: we're going to need this same mechanism for our filters here as well. And in case one of these signals is missing, then we're going to need the other signal to be the input of our AND gate in the next step of our stacker, right? And I guess that is the tricky bit that the user who requested this video struggled with. So what we are going to do is create a smart virtual stacker, right? So this behavior, we're going to mimic that on the wiring layer. And the purpose of this behavior is, once again, if you have one belt that is missing, then we want the other belt, the shape that's on the other belt, to become the output that feeds into the next machine. That is the principle. And we're going to recreate that principle, we're going to duplicate that principle on the wiring layer. So how do we go about this? Because this is a bit trickier than the physical layer, right? First of all, we're going to use a virtual stacker, right? Here it is. And the problem with the virtual stacker, just as with the physical stacker, is that you need your proper inputs on both sides or you won't get an output at all, right? So if I continue this wire right here, this signal right here, and I do it like so, and I continue the blue signal right here, then if we have two inputs, if we have the proper inputs, then this signal will get stacked virtually and the output will be correct. However, if I turn off one of these buttons and cut away one of both belts, then we won't be getting a signal anymore, right? And we won't be able to provide the proper signal on this wiring layer. Sorry, on this AND gate. So how are we going to do this? And this is the tricky bit. We're going to work with transistors. And the way the transistor works, in case you don't know what it does, is it can take an incoming signal from the bottom, let's say any signal, right? This is a blue circle just for demonstration purposes. And what the transistor does is like a kind of valve or a filter. It is going to take the input on the left or on the side, because you can rotate this, you can mirror this transistor. It's going to take the input coming in from the side, and it's going to use that to determine whether the input coming from the bottom is allowed to pass yes or no. So in this state we have a 0 coming in from the side, and that's going to shut off the signal right here. If I enable it, then the signal coming from the bottom, the blue circle, will be allowed to pass, and it will move on to the output of the transistor. That's basically what it does, right? If I shut this off, no signal output. If I turn it on, then the bottom signal, the blue circle, will move through. That's how a transistor works, and that's what we're going to use in our smart stacking unit as well. Let's get rid of this. So how does it work? In this case, we have a 0 coming in from the top. I like to keep these colors split to keep it more, to keep it more transparent and clear for myself. So the green wire, the shape that's on the green wire, that's the missing one. And in that case, we're going to want the signal on the blue wire to be the one that moves onto the output line. And we're going to use transistors to achieve that. So how are we going to do that? If this signal is a 0, then I'm going to want this transistor to continue the shape that's on the blue wire. And the way I'm going to do that is with a NOT gate. The NOT gate is the key of this whole operation, right? So if this signal is a 0, I'm going to use the NOT gate to turn that into a 1, and that will be the signal that provides the side input of the transistor of the other wire. So if I now connect that up, then my signal is going to be the signal on the blue wire. If I enable this button again and I enable my belt, then this transistor will be shut off, right? It will have no output, but instead the stacker is going to provide the output, right? And there is no conflict. Now, what we've built up to here will be able to handle if the top belt is missing, but it will not yet be able to handle when the bottom wire is missing. So we're going to copy this mechanic, and we're going to reverse it, or we're going to flip it as to make it applicable the other way around as well. So how are we going to do that? We're going to take the blue signal. We're going to use that as a transistor input for the green signal. Right? I'm gonna do this so that our belts don't conflict. Now actually I can compress it a little bit if I turn this into a blue wire, and then we run it like so. Transistor here, and then finally we still need a NOT gate, and we connect that to our output lane, right? And now this top right quadrant coming from the green wire is going to be our final output signal, right? So now it works both ways. If we have both signals, we'll get the stacked shape, or in this case the merged shape. If we have the top signal missing, then the bottom signal will be the one to continue, and if we have the bottom signal missing, then the top signal will be the one to continue, right? And with this system, very simply, we can now copy that. So I'm going to copy this stacking module. There we go. And then this connects here, that connects there, and then our final output lane, we will just reroute it here so we can get everything into the same screen. Right, this will be our final output, our final stack layer. And little this way to it. I'm gonna do it a little bit like so, as to make it a bit faster. There we go. And now we can very simply just copy this onto the next. So the advantage of this system is that you can simply copy this very easily, right? So we turn this into a blue wire, connect that here. We connect the green signal here. There we go. And now we have a fully functional stacking array that is able to handle. Is it able to handle? No, it's not able to handle because I haven't connected these wires yet. There we go. And there we go. And now we should be golden. So now, after a while, after everything is processed right here, is this working yet? No, it is not working yet because I wasn't allowed to change the color of my wire. Just a little tip, if you're ever confined for space, you can simply change the color of your wire with a transistor as well. All you need to do is put a constant 1 signal on the side, and if you're ever finagling with the colors of your wires, especially if you're going to want to, if you're attempting to condense your machines and your wiring layer to fit as much as you can in a little space, then sometimes you might want to switch the color of your wire, right? And in that case, you can use this little transistor trick in case you wouldn't have figured it out by yourself, and that's how you can swap from a green wire to a blue one and vice versa. So I hope I haven't messed anything up, and our final output will be, enable this. It'll be our full circle to start off, right? The rightmost part coming in from the right, leftmost part, coming in from the top, and the leftmost part coming in from the bottom. And our final output will be the full circle. And if any of these belts is missing, then this machine will be able to handle that splendidly. It will take some time because, as I said, this machine is not very efficient, so this is not flushing everything in an efficient manner. It just shows you that this is a way that you can set it up. Right, so after a while, after everything is flushed and processed, you now get a full belt that is missing the bottom right quadrant. And we can continue this. Let's take out, let's say the bottom left quadrant, and now we're taking out the top right quadrant. And after a while, that will be exactly the shape that we'll be getting, right? Let's demonstrate it some more. Let's just flip the switches and produce the opposite shape, or the complementary shape. Right, and now we have a full belt outputting just that. And the good thing about this is that you can copy your mechanism around, right? So if you have other stackers behind this one, the principle just stacks, it just cascades. You can use this signal for your next stacker, and if you duplicate this, you can use the output there for your bottom signal, etc., etc., etc. If you take this approach, then in a make anything machine, you're going to need 4 steps. One to create half a layer from 2 quadrants, then the next one to create to turn 2 halves into a full layer, then stack 2 shapes on top of each other, and then in a final step you're going to stack your double shapes onto your final shape that will move into the hub. All right. So this is the first approach, of which, as I said, the benefit was copyability. Right? You can I don't know if that's a word, but you understand, I guess, what I'm saying. You can create this, and then you can just copy it around for all your steps in the process. But then I cooked up another system. Let's have a look at that. I also prepared this. And this takes an entirely different approach. It only works if you use a specific type of stacking, and I call this the quad stagger, because rather than taking two inputs and turning it into one, like this module, right? This other stacking array is going to take 4 inputs and turn it into one. And it can take either you have 4 layers coming in and 4 full layers coming in and it will stack the final shape, or it has 4 quadrants coming in and it will stack or merge the layer, right? Now, the way this system works, and I've shown it off in my previous version 3 Make Anything machine, is you simply connect the stackers like so. You can take a still shot, a screenshot, to reproduce how it works. And this mechanism will only create a proper full belt if you also use the pressure distribution system. That's a little disclaimer, otherwise this approach will not work. But the idea is that you create 8 different stacker modules. You know, this is 1, this is 2, and I repeated that 4 times. And you need to distribute all your incoming lines evenly, so that each of these modules gets exactly 1/8 of the input. Otherwise, it won't work, right? But if you are using this type of setup, to which the benefit is that it doesn't have any wiring going for it, right? This works fully without the wiring. Then you can use this type of filter system. And what it is going to do is, it is let's just say a priority arrangement kind of thing, right? So this system, this filter system, is going to determine how many incoming belts you have, and it's going to always sort them, rearrange them, reroute them onto the amount of belts that you have counting from the top. So if you have any of these 4 lines coming in, but just the one, then this will be the output belt that is used, right? We can use this as an example, right? So if you have one incoming line, then you see it is rerouted, and the output that I'm going to get at the end of the line is exactly that bottom right quadrant, right? Now, if I add any lane to that, which will mean that we'll have 2 lanes instead of 1, then the top 2 outputs will be used, right? So let's take this one, doesn't matter which one you take, right? This is rerouted, and at the end of the line, we're gonna get the bottom half, right? And we have a full belt of the bottom half, and this works for any combination that you use. And the benefit of this system is that the wiring is extremely easy, right? The only thing you need to do is you connect a belt reader, then a filter next to that on the following line, and a bypass lane that moves past the belt reader. That part is important, right? So this merger needs to be behind this belt reader, and then what you're simply going to do is you're going to connect this the Boolean side of the belt reader to the filter on the next side. And what it is going to do is basically say, right, if this has no input, if there is no shapes running across this belt, then you simply close this filter, and it works for every pair of filters. And that's how you're always going to reroute whatever amount of 4 belts you have coming in to the same amount of belts, but then counting from the top. So again, if we have only 1 belt, then it will be rerouted to the top lane. If we add any other belt, then the top 2 lanes will be used. If we add a 3rd belt, then the top 3 belts will be used. And finally, logically, if we have all incoming belts, then the top belt will be used. And that is a second approach to how you can create a fully functional Make Anything machine that has any of the 4 quadrants on your layer. missing, right? So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new, and I invite you to work on these mechanisms to make them a lot more efficient, so that they're, I don't know, so that they're faster, or whatever you want to do with it. Use them for your own purposes. And yeah, if you have any requests, you may feel free to write them down in the comments. Now, in advance, I'm going to say that I might not do the videos you request me to do, for the very simple reason that I may not feel like doing them. All right, but you know, if you don't try, you'll never know. In this case, this person got lucky. He asked the question, and I was like, sure, I'll do a video on it. So ask away in the comments, and you know, I might do a video about that. And if you like this video, be sure to leave a like. And who knows, I might see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.